get started with, okay. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Great. All right. Wonderful. All right. So people, last time, I don't know if you were able to see the previous lecture where we introduced what is innovation, what it's not, and we have gone over with the definition that it's introducing something novel, something new with a commercial attachment to it. So you have to be able to create some value, and that is also related with making money. So the distinction is like an invention, it can be patented. It definitely has scientific value in it, but it doesn't necessarily have to hit the market. You don't need to make money. Basically, Tesla died penniless in a hotel room, all on his own. So he's an inventor, big time inventor, but he didn't care about money. But innovation, oh, definitely, there has to be some kind of value for the customers, right? But we said, if you remember this painting by Picasso, the feeling is rather gray, gloomy, depressing, and it's a very confusing feeling. You don't want to look at this. So why would anyone do this? But if you remember, I said innovation starts with frustration. So before going into the journey, the starting point is definitely some kind of frustration, at least 95% of the time. So how do I know that? Well, there's some research, and it was published in this journal Science, and they looked at research, all sorts of innovation studies between the year 1945 and all. It's a pretty comprehensive kind of work. What they come up with is 5% of the time, what we have is technology push. Now, what does that mean? Technology is usually generated in labs or universities. And so basically, when someone comes up with a technology and they present it to the market, it's more like a push to the market, right? But 95% of the time, innovation doesn't start with a technology push. So most of the time, 95% of the time, it comes from a market pull. What does that mean? Well, there's a need in the market, and the people, companies, customers somehow express it to the companies, or companies read it from the customers, and they basically say, hey guys, we got to get this problem solved. And that's how innovation ends up in the market, when the companies say, we got to pull this innovation and put it to the market. Now, what are the points where can we have frustration in the market pull, if you will? Let's look at that. Hold on, I have this screen kind of locked or something. I can't. Let's see. Nope. Let's see. Let me take this down. Okay. So we have 3 main causes of frustration in the market. One is because of inefficient processes in the companies while they're producing stuff, products or services, doesn't matter. There's inefficiency of some kind. And a second reason is inadequate tools or resources. So if you're trying to produce something, and if you don't have enough resources, if you have inadequate resources, then you're going to be frustrated, and you need to find a way to solve that problem. Finally, unmet customer needs. So let's go into each one of these with examples that will make sense to you, because at this level, it really doesn't make much sense. Now, if you look at this picture over here, if this road represents the path the company needs to go, and if this company is this guy, let's say, this little bike over here doesn't seem to be the most efficient process, okay? So what we need is something better. Obviously, this guy must be feeling pretty frustrated. So what kind of real-life examples can we have? Okay. If you go back to the beginning of the 20th century, the time when Henry Ford came up with this assembly line idea, it was groundbreaking. It was massive. It was huge, profound idea. At the time, 1913, yes, it was pretty amazing, because this guy was shifting the definition of transportation from horse carriages to automobiles, which is, definitely revolutionary. And the way it works, everybody knows, the inventories, all sorts of components are piled at the beginning of the assembly line. And as the cars are made, they are attached to the cars. And at the other end comes the cars ready. And then they are delivered to the clients, to the customers, who have to wait, basically. Now, this was revolutionary at 1913, but as time moves on, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and nothing changes. I mean, assembly line is still the mainstream form of production in the automotive sector. And there's a lot of customers waiting for their cars, because it's difficult for car manufacturers to change the models. I mean, when in 1913, just one model was good enough, maybe, because people didn't have the notion of a car. But 1980s, 90s, come on, people were expecting more out of a car. So basically, they expected all these different models, and assembly line form of production was not able to, it wasn't flexible enough to meet the needs of the customers. So all the components, inventory costs were very high, and the finished goods inventory costs were high. Imagine rents and all that. So this was definitely not efficient way of producing cars. 1980s, 1990s, we're talking. So what happened was, Toyota, this Japanese company, came up with a different way of producing cars. By 1985, Toyota said, we are going to start the whole process in a very different point. So we're going to start when the customer comes and places the order. That's when we're going to start production. What an interesting idea, because that way, you know when you're going to, the customer is going to come, place the production demand, let's say, and the company doesn't necessarily have to keep any inventories, because they're just going to ask all the suppliers to turn over, to deliver the required parts just in time for production. So they got rid of inventory costs completely. And then this shortened the production cycle which reduced the inventory costs and all the other costs down. That gave a competitive advantage to Toyota, and they were flexible enough to change the models. So this went on, and Toyota created a huge shift in the automobile sector until the pandemic hit. In 2020, Toyota had a hard time because the supply chain was broken. And the electronic chips were in a shortage. So Toyota's way was also challenged, let's say, even though it was brand new in 1990s. By the time 2020, given the pandemic, the whole system was crippled, let's say. So they had to find a different way. So they felt frustrated, and they had to find new suppliers, more suppliers, and they stopped producing the less popular models, introduced more popular models. They prioritized the production of the more popular models. So that was a change in their way of running business, and they had to do more research and development to replace the chips because they were having a hard time securing chips at the right time. So basically, whenever a company is having frustration in their processes, manufacturing or otherwise, that's a time to start innovation. Another example I can give is from the agriculture sector. There's the conventional way. Okay, here I'm going to introduce my first YouTube link, which I'm not going to share now because it's going to take a while. But this is a story of Alan Savory, who is the founder of this regenerative farming idea. Now, what is regenerative farming? If you look at the conventional farming methods, there's a lot of fertilizer use, chemical or pesticide use. These are all poisonous chemical stuff that have residue on the produce, and then when we, even if we wash them with how many times, we still have all these chemicals left over on the stuff that we eat, and that's how we get all these chemicals in our system as humans. So there's been a huge reaction to the conventional agriculture, let's say. So we switched to the organic, but even with the organic, we are depleting soil, and we're not taking good care of soil. Whereas with regenerative farming methods, we are basically helping the soil to re-nourish itself, to be reborn, or to regenerate itself. So I want to show the contradiction or the comparison of the way the traditional farming method, how it competes with nature, how people say, we know better nature, so this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to have only corn for lots and lots of places, or we're going to disturb the soil with all the chemicals that we're going to be spraying on top to kill the bacteria or the bugs and the insects or whatever. And we know better, but we don't because our way of life reveals that to us. People are falling sick, and we're having hygienic problems. Kids are suffering with not enough nutrition in the food, and there's not enough diversity in terms of the vegetables or the stuff that we're producing. So we're not looking at agriculture in a holistic way. So what happens is, with regenerative farming, they introduce this idea of using livestock, using herds of animals as walking fertilizers. So what they do is they let this herd, let's say, move in a certain part and graze in that section of the field. And while they're walking around, they're with their hoofs, they're making these marks on the soil, and when they're letting the dung acts like the fertilizer. And as you use this grazing, the methodological grazing, let's say, one day here, one day there, so the whole field gets fertilized with natural fertilizers, not chemical, but natural fertilizers. And basically you can use crop diversity. So you can have wheat and flour and whatever else, wheat and corn and whatever else, all at the same time, not necessarily a whole field of corn, nothing else kind of thing. And also they think we need to have plants covering soil all year round. That way the roots of the plants get deep and it gets the nutrition from the soil, and the soil is less disturbed. So they get to use spiders as natural enemies of the bad insects, let's say, instead of pesticides. So there's different ways of looking at agriculture, and the traditional way is definitely not efficient. And this is, oh, here, yeah, this documentary, it's mind-blowing. When I was searching through the internet to find stuff to show you what would be interesting, I ran into this documentary, and it's kind of long, more than an hour, but it gives this idea that there's this way of, like, it's a pilot's warehouse, okay, greenhouse, and there's a lot of yield in this greenhouse, but the byproduct of this greenhouse is free electricity. Imagine you have this wonderful agriculture production, which is also giving you free energy to use at home or wherever. And I mean, I'm not going to give you any spoiler. There's things happening in the movie, obviously. That's why it got all these awards, but I strongly recommend, just to get the idea of how agriculture can be different and how we need to give awareness to our kids, how it can be done. So hold on a minute. I just wanted to take a look at the chat if there's any comments. Okay, everyone, good morning. Yeah, okay, yeah. So going on. By the way, the name of the movie is The Need to Grow, but the link is this link over here, grow.foodrevolution.org. So next, moving on to another reason for frustration: inadequate resources. Obviously, this groom she's using is pretty inadequate for that kind of a big place. But these reasons, this inadequate resources or reasons, so probably you guys may know, this is not new, but this idea of sending money probably came up because of the insufficiency of the financial institutions in Kenya. And this is not a smartphone, so they were able to figure out a way to transfer money in 2007, which is pretty amazing. And look at this one, Hippo water roller. This is definitely this lady right in the middle with the yellow bucket on her head. She's carrying water the traditional way for, imagine how much rides she needs to do, go back and forth to be able to carry the amount that she really needs. Whereas with this roller, these people are able to carry 90 liters per round, imagine. So obviously it must have been somebody who got really frustrated with carrying all this water. Well, it's these two guys over here, Perry Petzer and Johan Jonker, South African entrepreneurs. Maybe their mothers were carrying water like this, since these two people were able to do this in 1990s. But obviously, there's a frustration behind this innovation as well. And this is inadequate tool in this case. And here's another one, the live straw. I mean, it's basically a straw, obviously, but look at the color of that water they're drinking. It's not sanitized, but the straw probably has some kind of sanitation in it. That's why it allows these kids to be able to drink water right out of that I don't know, that bucket or the river or the lake. So these are all frustration points. And one final one, Brick, which is a self-powered mobile Wi-Fi device. This is introduced for poor infrastructure areas. Now, when I was going through the internet to find examples of inadequate resources or inadequate tools giving reason for innovation, I ran into this engineeringforchange.org. Maybe you guys are already familiar with this. I mean, it was the first time I saw this. Oh, Oscar Sinkutawa. Yes, I will give my email, my LinkedIn, and it's already included at the end of my presentation. If anyone has a comment, I'll be able to respond to it. At the end, we're going to have a comments, questions section. So if you have any questions, just write it in the chat and I'll be willingly responding to them. So this site has wonderful examples for poor infrastructure places. These innovation examples are all developed. I mean, it's from health, from all these different energy areas. So if you'd like to take a look, I mean, there's thousands, maybe not thousands, but like tens of hundreds of examples. I didn't have time to check each and every one of them. So I'm leaving the link over here for you to check on it if you're interested. So let's go into a real life story where we can actually have a glimpse of the emotions, okay? This is William, and he's also known as the boy who harnessed the wind. Very interesting story, very interesting, because he made a windmill on his own. I mean, he was like a junior, he was at the age of a junior high student when he made this. So basically, innovation doesn't have any age limit. So what happens is this. This boy lives in Malawi, and in the year 2001, 2002, there's a lot of drought, and which leads to famine. And over here it says Malawi's worst ever famine in 2002. And basically, William, all his family, I mean, he has a crowded family, and this is their daily meal. Imagine just a single meal. And this is, I cannot even imagine what they must have been feeling. And if you remember from the previous lecture, Steve Jobs had said, stay hungry, stay foolish. I'm sure he didn't mean stay this hungry, but these guys were really hungry. So, well, maybe hunger is a serious driver for innovation, but it's not enough. All these guys were hungry. Why did William take on the challenge? So that's important. Anyway, so basically this is their daily meal once a day. And this is William's father. He's a farmer. And the expression on his face basically tells his feelings. I mean, he just doesn't know what to do because there's not enough water. How are you going to raise food? How are you going to raise agriculture? How are you going to do irrigation with no water? And So basically, the poor guy is just desperate. Now, this is the feeling. Everybody must be feeling the frustration at this point, okay? But it's William's grandmother who says, well, you can read this on your own. So while everybody is feeling the same sense of frustration, it's William has an extra source of frustration because it's time for him to go to junior high. And in Malawi, they say, I mean, he explains in his story, they had to pay for junior high because it was private. And his family can't even afford food. So how can they pay for William's school expenses? So basically, he becomes a dropout. So he's suffering even more than everybody else is suffering. And what happens is he basically figures, well, we're going to be able to find a way somehow for me to go to school. So why don't I like stay connected to my friends and let me keep on doing the homework assignments? So while his friends are gone to school, he gets the previous day's assignments and he spends his time in the library to do the homework assignments. And that's when he runs into the physics book, okay? And even though he doesn't speak English, he doesn't know English, so he can't read the book. Imagine, you can't read the book, but somehow he is able to find out that there's something called a windmill, which can generate electricity. So with electricity, you can pump water from underground and you can do irrigation, which means agriculture, which means food. So he says, I want to do this. Okay, major point. Everybody is feeling frustrated, but he is even more frustrated because he can't go to school. He's fallen behind from all his classmates, but this gives him the time to go to the library and teach him what he wants to learn. And this introduces him to physics. So maybe if he went to school, he was going to study literature and arts and nice topics, by the way. I have nothing against them, but sometimes life just puts us in such a point there, you just are drawn, you're drawn to this piece of knowledge or this problem that makes you go after your passion. It gives you the light to follow, to maybe your calling, let's say. So anyway, so he sees this idea of the windmill. And after that, he starts spending time in the junkyard, looking for parts where he can go. And of course, he can't spend any money on it. So he has to go to the junkyard or scrapyard to find these pieces. And it's not easy to find these pieces like, going to a store. So he has to make sure that he finds these pieces in some working condition. So he actually gets these things together, and it takes time. And this is what his mother says. So the poor guy, he has to, his mother, obviously, his mother needs to protect him. And she wants to get him to act in a socially acceptable manner. Yet, looking at it from a mother's perspective, she's trying to save his child from the junkyard, But looking at it from the boy's perspective, he has to do this. He doesn't have any other option because he needs to have food on the table and he wants to go to school, so he needs money. So that is his only. Can you imagine that these two different ways of thinking clashing, and he is being ridiculed by his people, and he probably feels emotionally just like this, totally isolated. No one understands him. He's alone. Yet he can't let himself go back. And he has to pursue this journey with no certainty. But what happens? Eventually, he comes up with electricity to charge the radio. Just look at the expression on his face. Isn't that the most beautiful face? Imagine you can charge your radio with electricity. Of course, I mean, this is, so what? It's so little electricity, but come on. If he, this is the first threshold, like, instead of being ridiculed, now he actually is being respected. He has started earning the respect of his family, the people around him. So this is, but of course, I don't know how many times he failed until he came to this point. Okay, so there's that uncertainty, there's the darkness, being alone in this path, and all that frustration. But finally, he comes to this point. Yet, when there's too much wind, this small back chain he uses up there snaps. And every time when there's too much wind, he has to go up that tower and he has to fix that chain. And in the process, he's risking cutting his hand. So this prototype, if you will, is not stable, right? So, so basically, he has to find a way to improve the system. And he thinks he needs to have a larger wheel. And he asks his father for his father's bicycle's wheel. Now, if you're the father and you have a single bike for transportation, and this boy is asking for that wheel, that means forget your bike. And how can you forget the bike? That is your single transportation vehicle. But the boy is determined. This is another point of emotion, let's say. So this boy, he convinces his dad. So basically, even though he's alone while facing the whole community being ridiculed, when his father consents to give the wheel to him, the tire, he gains the support of the family. So basically, we're not talking about a hero story here, just a single person. Getting support from people is crucial. So eventually he comes up with this first windmill, and obviously neighbors or people in the village start coming over to ask to charge their phones, and he becomes a success, a celebrity overnight. And the best thing is the happiness in the family. I think this is a scene from the movie because they made a movie out of the story, or even though it's a true life story. You can see the movie. I'm gonna not the movie, but the TED Talk. But let's just go over what kind of with what kind of feelings we're going through here. So first of all, we have frustration as the starting point. And then there is this decision, like while everybody else is suffering because of the famine, William is the one who says, I'm going to work on this problem. He is the realizer of this problem. No one else thinks this of much of a problem to be tackled, let's say. Like, although everybody else is feeling the frustration, no one thinks that anything can be done about this. So they just finally give up and don't do anything about it. But he decides to do something about it, right? And then he accepts this feeling of being ridiculed. How are you going to stand against a whole community of people claim you know what to do? It's not easy. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do that. But maybe just because he's like 13, 14, something like that, you don't really care what the old guys say, and your friends are over there and they don't really ridicule you that much at that age. So maybe it was the age advantage. But even though he was not going to school, in that sense, he was alone. He was a dropout. But the advantage was he was still connected with his friends, and he had access to the library. So knowledge, being connected with the right people and getting access to books. Or today, it's even easier because there's internet. So with ChatGPT, you just type whatever you want and it's right at your fingertips. But the other thing is determination. Like, you fail and you can just give up right there, but then you go back. You go back and you say, I'm going to do this. I will do it one way or another. If it's done elsewhere, I can do it here too. So that's a major, major factor right there, determination. And yeah, this is the link of William's story. There's a book, there's a movie, it's a true life story, and I've just, covered a little bit of it, not the whole thing. But I think the boy represents not a hero. I'm not saying innovation is done only as a single person thing. No, definitely not. It takes a team, and you need to know who to team up with. But it takes a vision, definitely. And this is the feeling. I mean, I'm not telling you got to have this view. No, but the feeling is hope. The feeling is, even if you don't know how it's going to end, you may fail, but you're going to somehow come up with something in the end. Something. Definitely, this will lead you to something. So as long as you keep the feeling right here with a vision, you may not end up where you think you will, but you definitely will end up somewhere, which is going to make you feel the feeling that you started out with, hopefully reaching to that feel. So now, here is my email. And so if you want, you can actually take the PPT. I would recommend, if your administrators would let you get the PPT, you have all the links over there, my email, and I'm going to now go through the chat because I wasn't able to read everything. So now I would like to address them one by one. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Oscar, my email. Here is my email. I'm typing it here. It may be a little difficult to read it. Okay. Or even if I read it, you might not be able to get it. So I typed my email and okay. Download this assignment template to write an assignment on this topic or another. Oh, okay. That's not for me. I'd like to appeal to everyone here, because here in Lesotho, we're confronted by a serious problem of soil erosion, tons and tons of, oh, okay, Lerato, you gotta go to Alan Savory's regenerative farming, okay? If you search for this concept of regenerative farming, they're giving free resources on how to basically, their idea is right there. I mean, you don't have to pay anything. You just need to read, okay? You have to learn what this regenerative farming practices are, okay? So, yeah, Dr. Lambert is responding as well. I think the journey starts with first there's a need, and you cannot accept less part from meeting it. It works in every cycle of life. Exactly. Innovation involves pain, but bring intentional. We'll get to this definitely. Moji Sola and Dominique. Thank you. I think innovation sometimes comes when you're doing something with love, passion. Exactly. Stelio, definitely. Passion. Exactly. Very interesting to learn about Malawian boy, William. Yes. And plus the guy was able to go and get a degree from US, engineering degree. So there's tons of stuff. And he's not alone. There's other boys like that from Africa getting degrees, being invited to MIT, places like that. So yes, maybe we could turn on the audio, and if you have any questions other than the chat. Dr. Lambert has shared regenerative farming link. Alan Savory, regenerative farming. Can you share the link to the movie? Well, I have to go back. Let me go back. Find the movie link. Okay, the movie's link is here. The movie is, oh, well, I can't copy it now. Well, let me type it here. HTTPS grow.foodrevolution.org. And the movie's name is The Need to Grow. I mean, this guy in the movie, there's a couple of guys. It's like 3 different stories woven into one. So 3 different perspectives to the same story from the US. But the idea is mind-blowing, like production of free electricity, and the way he's using algae and biocarbon to refurbish dead soil. And there's also stuff like there's examples of deserts being regenerated into productive soil. But I couldn't go that deep in the presentation. But it takes, like in Saudi Arabia, there's a project that they basically turn desert into a green area. And also in India, they've been doing it. Yeah, Dr. Lambert has shared some links here. Oops. Did I share my message with everyone or a single person? I'm not sure. Okay, well, thank you, Hopkins. Yes, thank you. Do you have any other comments? May I ask something? Would you be, or what would you be interested in? Would you be interested in the mindset of innovation, for instance? Or what would you be interested in? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Haley. Yeah, Ethiopia, they're using making terraces. Yes. Thank you.
It seems like part of innovation is asking for help and ideas too.
Yes. Yes. It's not a Superman story. Even though they depict it that way, it definitely is not. There's a team behind innovation. But when they're, making movies out of it, they kind of like depict it that way. So the team thing is important. Oh yes, Moye Sola, you can launch your community, especially women, like William's grandmother. I didn't tell it there, but William's grandmother, she had a husband who was a tailor, so he was out of home all the time. So she had to make her own bricks to make her home. She built her home with the bricks that she made on her own as a woman. Can you imagine that? What kind of a problem solver she is? Of course, maybe it was running in the family, that kind of a thinking. So it has nothing to do with gender, but women are sometimes more resourceful or multitasker, like while taking care of the kid at your back, you're also cooking at the same time and maybe doing something else with your left hand, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, and if you have a community, especially teaching teenagers or kids this mindset that you can solve anything as long as you take that challenge on. Behind external and see, there's both. There's internal forces and external forces. It depends. It just obviously there has to be a need from the market, like in this case, the famine. There's need for electricity irrigation in order to get the water from underground. You got to have electricity to pump it out. So that's the force, the external force, if you will. But the internal force is what William is going through personally. So he takes on the challenge. He doesn't necessarily have to, but all his friends are in school and he feels like all alone. And that is the internal force. So sometimes challenges might be, staying hungry, I think, might be the driving force, because where else are you going to go? If you're hungry, you have to find a way, to feed yourself, to do something about the problem. Yes, Kenyan M-Pesa is a success, spreading regionally. I guess the boy has, I mean, he's after that he started doing something with the internet provision and putting computers at the community school so that kids at his village have access to more knowledge. How can you teach the mindset of innovation individuals? Oh, okay. Solomon, here's what you can do. Just grab stuff from garbage, okay? Anything from the junkyard. Papers, plastics, leftover materials. Take them in, put them in front of the kids, bring the kids in teams of 2 or 3, doesn't matter, but give them an idea. Ask them to do a car, ask them to do a spaceship, ask them to do something, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be Lego pieces. Anything trash can be turned into something. So the idea to plant innovation mindset is to give them the feeling that they can do it. And it doesn't matter whether this thing is a prototype of something wonderful. No, it really doesn't matter, because anything that they will do will make them proud. They will be proud of it. And then they will start questioning, how can I make this better? How can I make this do this instead of that? So then they will start questioning themselves. And then they will start questioning you for what else I can do. How else can I make this run with electricity or with batteries, or how else? So that's when you introduce them to internet, because if you don't know physics, for instance, like I don't know physics, then I would say, okay, let's ask Auntie Marie or Uncle whatever who knows about this stuff. And then let's go on the internet and let's ask internet, how can we make this work with batteries? So you just show them how to collect information, and they will come up with ways to make it work. So it's just a matter of giving them the emotional support, okay? They will move it from there on. Oscar, I'm very happy, especially in the area that you say innovation starts with frustration. Yes. How do you identify innovation in children in school? Same idea. Schools don't really help people ask questions. That's why I hate schools, universities. You know, when I was a kid, our teachers expected us to know everything. And I was like, I'm supposed to memorize stuff. I hate memorizing. And they looked down on us when we didn't know. So in the Turkish culture, it's really difficult to ask questions. And I think it still is. And I'm trying to make people feel it's okay to ask questions. And students don't really need to know everything. They can freely roam the internet to learn. It's okay to ask questions. So that's number one, is you have to, at school, especially at school, you have to make sure it's okay to ask questions. I mean, for the kids.
Well, we have a couple of questions coming in.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Let's go with Caleb Magutu. Go ahead and unmute your microphone, Caleb.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
I'm Dr. Elif Kalayci from Kenya. And in Kenya right now, we are crying about the economy, life is becoming difficult and all that. But I've realized that the mobile, the M-Pesa, Safaricom is one of the things which is being felt, and it is growing so rapidly in the world. And from today's presentation, I've realized that people need to go through some frustration. If you induce some frustration, people will start thinking out how to solve problems, because necessity is a matter of invention. And this presentation, I find it actually also touching my life, because I am where I am because of frustrations. And at some point, I could see that people had started criticizing me and even wondering what kind of a future I'm going to be. But like the young man from Malawi, I can see that a bit of correlation. However, my problem is I have not been actually going into doing things, but I think now I've been given a spirit where I can go and start doing things. Even right now, I feel frustrated because I started a program of training young people from poor families and aeronautical engineering. But now in the institution where I am now actually teaching, it's like these people feel that the program is expensive and now they are scrapping out. And now I am now thinking of starting a small college around the institution, can be able to train the young people, and then I'll have them do the exams through the institution. I think my what has been disturbing me now has been opened, and I'm going to really start working so that I can achieve that dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Caleb. This is so inspiring. I think if you somehow write your story, what you have accomplished, what kind of challenges you solved in order to get to where you are, the young people will look at you and they will say, if he did it, then I can do it. It's like the 4-minute mile. Before, this person was able to run the mile in 4 minutes. No one thought it was possible. But once someone does it, then it becomes possible. So you're going to be the inspiration in these young people's lives. And if the things that you have accomplished, once you accomplish them, they're not, that much of a story to you. But for some other people, they are big, big examples of success. So you have to go back and write, if you can, maybe in bullet points, not like in a novel or anything, but what were those little things, the stories in your life that made you you? Because each difficulty makes, they add something to you. And it's going to turn into a vision for someone else, okay? Just like William, you're going to have your own gems to give to people.
All right, we'll go to the next question from Chris Edmund Akote. Go ahead and activate your microphone. Go ahead. Chris Edmund Akote. Let me ask you to unmute your microphone again. Are you able to unmute your microphone? Let's go to Duku Martin. Duku Martin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is Doku Martin from South Sudan. Yeah, mine is just a comment. Really, to be honest, through the hard way, like just for example, this climate change.
Mm-hmm.
In this country, you find that people have really gone through some trauma and they're really gone the hardest way, like the flooding. But based on my experience last year, at least it has really given someone a lesson that yes, this is the season that is coming. So I think there's a need for me to move from where I used to be before, because if I stay there, definitely, the flooding is going to come and I'm going to be affected. My food is going to be destroyed. And in this, finding that, somebody is not moving out to, to start a new life, at least, with the terrible situation that he or she has gone through. So I think innovation really works because, when something happened of this kind, it's really very easy now for one really to take it up. Because if you don't act on it, automatically, yes, you really feel the hardest way. So I really agree with my colleague's comment that also has contributed, and really this is really so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's definitely not easy. There's a fear of the unknown. There's the climate change, there's floods, there's famines, there's drought, there's diseases, there's the pandemic, there's everything. But if you reach out if you work together, if you start reading, getting information from other people who have already solved problems like this. I mean, India has had a lot of flooding, and India came up with ways to overcome this flooding problem, even though it took a while. But you can read on it, and nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Oscar, would you like
Let's
to go
go
next?
to Oscar. I will ask you to unmute your microphone. Oscar Sinkutwa. There you go. I
Hello.
think we can hear you now.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to appreciate for this topic that has come at the right time. Actually, I'm coming from the same side that you have been quoting the illustration or the example of William. We are just differ from the places that we are living. I've learned a lot. I have a company that is just starting. We got registered in 2022. It was 7th April. Now, for the journey of 1 year, really I've experienced the challenge of frustrations. So my question is, now suppose you have a company. I just want to refer to William. You see, William was experiencing frustrations, but on the other hand, he was lucky because the grandmother was trying to mentor him how to do things very well. Maybe how to change things to come up with the solutions or to be connected, something like that. Now, if you are at the company, you are in the sake of frustration, then what is adding more? You don't have someone to mentor you or to direct you. How best can you come out from that situation?
Oscar.
If you're unconnected.
Oscar.
Yes.
First of all, you have my email.
Yes, I have.
You can write to me and I can brainstorm with you. And
Okay.
what you need is people who are not coming from your background and who can, I'm not saying I'm going to give you answers to your problems. I would never claim to do that. But
yes.
if you don't have a mentor, you can get a mentor. And the way to get mentors is ask people. Go on LinkedIn. Go on LinkedIn. Find people who have solved problems along your line of business and write them. My problem is this. I'm trying to solve this. Would you spare half an hour with me? Or would you please explain this to me? How did you solve this kind of thing? LinkedIn is, if you ask somebody, if you ask not only a single person, of course, I'm talking about like 20 people maybe. Okay. If you ask 20 people, at least 2 will answer. So that way you're going to get connected with the right people, okay? Who will ask you questions back. And then you're going to be able to brainstorm, okay? And you will find your answers. Sometimes only talking to somebody will help you find your answer on your own, because you will find your answer. No one else can give your answer to you. But when you're venting it out, sometimes you just want to pour it out. But when you're doing it on your own, it feels like, it's impossible to get out of this. But when you're talking to somebody else, oh, there's this, let me write this down. There's that, let me write that. So sometimes, that's how it works. So you have to reach out. Okay? That's how you find your mentors. And people will give you ideas. People will tell you ways to go about it. But eventually, the solution rests with you, because you are the person living in that condition.
Elif Kalayci, have you ever seen a rural community form an organization for innovation, like a business incubator, to help people come up with ideas and to help them manifest those ideas?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a world, but accelerators, local accelerators are everywhere. And obviously, accelerators have been doing this virtually. So there's a place called F6S.
Can you write that into chat?
Yes, F66S.com or org. I'm not sure. It's org or com. F6S. So this is an international accelerator place. So it's
Did you send that to everybody? Because I don't see it in chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I sent it to Oscar somehow. No, I need to send it to everybody.
Yes.
Everyone. F.
And is that like a universal business incubator for innovation?
Well, it's not an incubator, but like even if you have an idea, or if you have a company, or if you have a startup of any kind, and if you'd like to pitch your idea, then these people are looking for ideas for startups to invest in or to accelerate and get them to their programs and help them, get from point A to point B. And if they see further, I don't know, some kind of potential, then they're going to take you to the investor, right? So this is that kind of a place, like an internet, and all sorts of accelerators all around the world are at F6S. So from any kind of business, not a single specific industry. And if you're a startup, you want to go with the right investor, the right mentor, who knows the problems of your industry. So if you're from health, you don't want to go get someone from energy, right? You got to get someone from health to mentor you, because he would be in the right links, in the right networks to connect you with the right kind of people. So you have to know who you're after. You got to know your people to get the right connections, not just anybody or everybody kind of thing. So that's why first, before reaching out to people, you got to go study all the LinkedIn companies who have further like gone along the path of where you want to go, and then study their websites, look at their people profiles, what kind of people, and then reach out to those people, writing, hi, I'm from wherever, and I have this startup, and we're having this problem. Would you be interested in helping me out for just 20 minutes?
What is the difference between a business incubator and an accelerator?
Incubator would take you in, and it's usually in Turkey, it's usually with universities or certain organizations, but accelerators, with the incubators, you're usually allowed a certain period of time, 6 months to 1 year. It's just like an egg, incubating an egg, right? So like once the egg is ripe and the chick is out to come, then they say, okay, the chick is out, and they either kick you out if the chick doesn't hatch, or if the egg hatches, and if there's a chick coming out, then they take you to the I don't know, their next step investor pitch places. But the accelerator, it's usually a very short program, depending on the sector. Software companies make it really short, but with hardware business, it's a little bit longer, but they have this intense trainings and marketing, how to do pitches to the investors, how to come up with the right business model rather than the business plan. So you have to come up with the right networks to go to. You got to have your accelerator pitch, your elevator pitch, all sorts of pitches, different types of pitches to different type of people, which is not easy. It doesn't come like that to be able to do your pitch. Bring your people together to make the working team. Team is everything when it comes to innovation or entrepreneurship. You got to have the right people. Okay, if you don't have the right people who will stay with you, take on the challenge, and then, move on. They're going to have a specific role. It's not going to be your uncle because he's so nice. No, you have to have the right people carrying out a certain role, just like a jigsaw puzzle. Puzzle pieces need to be fitting right, very tightly, and you have to present this team to the investor or whoever is going to back you up, either knowledge-wise or money-wise. You have to show them the team. It's not the entrepreneur or the innovator, the person, okay?
Like in South Africa, when they developed that barrel that would roll the water, they had to design it, and then they had to find a company to make that, get some estimates of the price, get some prototypes, redesign it. So there's this process to get the right design that would work for the people.
Definitely.
And then they had to market it to find out who would pay for this.
Well, first you got to start with the marketing. If there's nobody to pay for it, you shouldn't be designing in the first place at all. So that's it's like, you got to have the company and the customer first. Even before anything starts, you got to be talking to the customer for the problems, not the product, but for the problems. What kind of problems do you have? What do you suffer from? And you got to make the client talk. The customer loves to vent about the problems. Once you get the problems, then you start thinking about, okay, the design and the costs and how to wear, whatever. Then you come up with a very simple version. The initial version is usually, so simple, it would be like looked down upon, just like William's version. But then if that thing is working with the customer, then people say, hey, talk to me. I want to buy this. That's when you start talking about pricing and branding, whatever. But first, you got to make sure there's demand for it in the first place.
So that's when you started talking about the market pull.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the technology push.
Right.
Okay,
think.
Are we ready to go to the next question?
Yes, Equity was saying he was here.
Yes, Chris Edmund, are you able now to unmute your microphone? Chris Edmund, can you do it? I just sent you a little link. Just click on that and that should unmute your microphone. It's not clicking in. Okay, let's go to Dominique Forbes.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you. My question, first of all, thank you very much. This is such a powerful lecture. I am blessed and graced to be here. Pertaining to the assignment, ma'am, could you share more? When is it due? And I was asking that in the group. That's all.
Oh, the assignment is,
yes, sir.
Just make sure that you submit assignment, at least one assignment every month. That gives you plenty of time to do research, get your information together, write it up, get your bibliography. And if you can do it faster than one assignment per month, you're good. So in this, you can study an accelerator, you can study business incubators, you can study market pull. There's lots of concepts. You can study innovation, you can study your market, you can study ideas. Get thinking and develop ideas and then put them down on paper, and that becomes your assignment. Okay.
Powerful. Yes, I would still need some clarity because this is the second course that I'm taking in this particular vein. So I'm not that familiar. I saw the name of it, emotional intelligence. I'm not sure exactly how this works. Is the assignment to be based on this class alone? Is that how this works?
You can base an assignment on any idea you want to research. So if you just want to do innovation, just a course on innovation, you can actually add that course. I will put up a link. I will put up a guide right now into chat. So it gives you instructions on just adding a new course. If I can get that button to push, there we go. There, I just put into the chat. You can download that little guide on how to add new courses to your curriculum. And then once you add a course, write up the assignment, submit it. So that gives you the freedom to develop any idea that catches your mind. Like Elif is talking about many different aspects of outreach, of research, of understanding frustration, of understanding that process, and of actually going through that process. There's all these different concepts that she's bringing in. And you can grab onto one of those concepts and develop it into an assignment. Let's go to the next question. Solomon, go ahead. Elif Kalayci, are you good on
Hello,
time?
good morning. Good morning, Mr. Lambert.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Lambert.
Oh, we can hear you. Go
My
ahead.
question goes to Dr. Elif.
Yes.
My question goes to Dr. Elif. She presented the 3 causes of frustration. The third point being animate customer, probably customer demands. So I wanted a further elaboration on animate customer demands. For example, if you're starting a business, there are other businesses in the same location, and probably you have few sales because there is competition. How could you go about to know how to package the services which indeed meet the demands of the customers?
Excellent
you.
question. Excellent question, Solomon. What I would do was talk to the current customers. Okay. Example. How would you talk to the customers? Okay, that's something else. Maybe we could do a class on that, but I want to give you the example of Google. Do you remember how back in 2000s, how Yahoo was huge, dominated the market, and Google was nothing. Google, no Gmails, no nothing. Google was just a tiny stuff. When Google was starting, if Google had thought, well, Yahoo is so big, what can we do? Google wouldn't have been Google today. So what did Google do? Google studied the market needs without trying to copy what Yahoo did. So basically what you're supposed to do is go talk to the customers and ask, okay, this is the product, okay, the glass. This is the product. Why don't you go and watch how the customers are using this product? Whoops, it breaks. Maybe they're tired of it being broken in the dishwasher, or maybe they're just, carrying it and it falls and it's breakable because it's made of glass. Oh, really? So you don't like it to be broken? Okay, that's an idea. But the guy is not going to tell you, you need to make me an unbreakable version of this. He's not going to tell you that. He's just going to say, well, I've been using this product for 8 years, but every 2 months I need to buy, I don't know, 10 more, and it's a lot of cost to me. So I wish it, I mean, I would like to reduce the cost of breaking, whatever. Or, so it could be that I can't hold it. It doesn't have any holder. He might say that, or he might not even know it. Just by looking at the way he's holding it, you can say, oh, he probably can't drink anything hot with this because he can't hold it. He has to hold it like this because maybe he's working something in a moving environment, so he has to hold it like this. A handle would be practical. Obviously, the customer may not know that. So you have to watch. You have to observe the behavior of the customer and make a note of what he needs, what he might like. He may not even articulate it, but just by watching how he's using this product, every product can be improved. No matter how wonderful it is, Just remember Google versus Yahoo. You just have to go and talk to the client or the customer, whoever is using the product. That's how you go into the market and increase your sales. And another thing is you have to go back. See, I was reading the chat over here. Someone said, we're afraid to even get started because people are going to laugh at us or we might fail. Of course you're going to fail. And then you're going to stand up again. Einstein failed. He didn't say, I failed. He said, I just was trying out 999 ways of not being able to find the right material in the lamp, in the light bulb. But in the 1000th time, he was able to do. He didn't say, oh, I failed, I failed. Who cares about failure? It's a learning process.
Okay, let's go on to the next question from Godfrey. Godfrey, go ahead and unmute your microphone.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Elif.
Yes.
I like the way you presented the topics, giving clear illustrations, breaking down these very difficult concepts into very user-friendly ideas. But I have a question. You made a comment, because I'm into education. You made a comment about you hating schools because they don't allow learners to ask questions. Now, I would like to find out from you, what are you doing something about that? Because you seem to really have some ideas that can help change the world in terms of education.
What I used to do was, first of all, bring play into class. Okay, don't lecture. If you lecture, people will sleep. That's number one. There's something called what was it? Flip side learning. I forgot the name, but what happens is this. You give the material to the student. If the student wants to learn, he can go and roam the internet, read, watch, whatever. Just challenge the student. If the student likes the teacher, the student will like the topic and come to class. Let's work on it. Let's solve problems together. So you need to be a helper to the student. You're not supposed to be the grader and the scrutinizer and I know it all. You guys are nothing. And I'm like the teacher. That is the attitude in Turkey, and I hate that. So what I'm doing about it, I'm trying to reach out to people like this and trying to give ideas in the topics that I know about or learning about it, because I never know anything. That's one thing. I always learn. So what I'm trying to be is an example that you can always learn no matter what age. I'm 53 and I'm still learning, and I'll always learn. So I want to make people see people can actually start any kind of degree anytime, especially now with the internet, and they don't need diploma, because companies are not after diplomas. Companies are after people with working heads. If you can come up with a project to prove that this is what I can do, have a portfolio of stuff that you have accomplished. It could be just, how was I able to make this shine better with the right detergent? I don't care. It could be a service, an idea of organization of some kind. It really doesn't matter. Any kind of problem that you were able to solve on your own, the company is going to chase you. Why? Because you're going to add value. Nobody wants someone in their company just sitting around doing nothing, but acting as if doing something. What you got to do is you have to create the value. And you can do it very easily, especially now with ChatGPT and all other sources right at the end of your fingertips. So Well, I don't know. I mean,
We have here at the university, the students can go into their student section and there's a link to actually use ChatGPT free for them.
there you go.
And
There you go.
and so right now I'm developing the procedure of using ChatGPT to study and learn anything.
Exactly.
So I want to ask a question that there are majors like in project management, business administration, marketing. Why don't they get together and form like a business or an organization to help innovators, or to look for people to go out and search for innovation, to improve society, to improve work, to improve life? What do you think?
Universities are so behind
Yes.
because, you know, startups and entrepreneurs and innovators are always at the cutting edge of the society, finding solutions, and universities are always like lagging behind, looking at the papers and making sure it's published and backed up with research. And well, by the time it's backed up with research, it's like 2 years. In order to publish a paper, you have to wait for 2 years anyways, especially in social sciences. That means, you know, if you just look, you have to have a different mindset now. So I'm sorry, I couldn't stay in the university system in Turkey because like I can't stand it anymore.
Here
Young
at AIU, if people want to do a thesis, we're recommending a thesis of like 15 to 30 pages. 15
That's
to 30
perfect.
pages. Perfect, right?
Perfect. Because
Some
no one
students,
has the time to read 200 pages.
no. But some students say, but I have to do at least 100-page or 200-page thesis for my government or for an organization.
The best thesis is the shortest thesis. If see any
Yes.
kind of scientist, if you cannot explain it in the simplest terms to a 6-year-old, then you don't know what you've done. That's the idea. Of course, it's going to take 600 pages for you to come up with it, but you have to be able to cut it down to present it in a nutshell so that people can get it like that. That's what entrepreneurs do also. That's the hardest thing to do, to make it in the simplest, shortest version. But that's what sells.
And here we want the students to focus in on their own projects, their own innovations, their own discoveries, and develop those. Go through the process and use the resources of the university to do their own individual exploration.
Definitely. That's the way to go. That's the only way to go. Because at the moment, Microsoft is not looking at the diplomas. They're actually they're just giving people projects. If you can come up with a solution to this project, we're going to hire you. That's it. So diploma is okay as long as you can back it up with the knowledge. I'm not saying drop out of college. What I'm saying is use it in a meaningful way, because just the diploma is the key to the company, let's say, for a little more while, maybe 10 more years. Some companies are going to still look at the paper, but if it's empty over here, they're going to let you in. And if they say, hey, there's no value this guy is creating, they're going to kick you out. So you have to create value either in your own company or in someone else's company. You have to solve problems.
All right. Anybody with a question out there? Comment, question. Anybody with an experience in innovation? Anybody who is in business and you're putting something together, it's different, that's new, that's going to improve something in society or in business, work, something.
It doesn't necessarily have to be groundbreaking, like I'm doing the next iPhone. No, it could be just like at home, the lid of my kettle was broken and I fixed it. So now my neighbor wants to learn it from me. Oh, so I'm going to help her do it. And the next door neighbor is, because the same kettle may be just broken, that very well selling model, everybody loves it, but there's this glitch to it, for instance, and you fixed it. That's innovation. Who cares?
You know, like I look at that innovation in South Africa of pushing the barrels of water. I once had to walk about 30 miles with a backpack, but I didn't want to carry this 100-pound backpack because I wanted to take books and a lot of food on this trek. So I designed this own little belt that I could hook into a cart behind me because most of the power of the body comes from the hips. So I would look at that design in South Africa and think they should change it so it hooks onto the hips, and then it becomes easier to move with less effort.
There you go.
And you don't have to use your arms because the leverage isn't quite right to get it over rocks sometimes. But if you're pulling it from your hips, you just go right over those rocks with no problem.
Well,
So
you
I
have an
still
idea.
see some innovation to be done on that project right there that they do in now South Africa.
In innovation, there's no end. That's just probably they have already done something about it. This is because this is like, I don't know how many, I mean, this is what they've been putting on the net, but I didn't go into the company website and check out the latest model. So there's no end to innovation.
Yeah. So yeah, I was able to design something connected to my hips that I could rotate and bend over and turn around and things, and it would just follow me. And I was able to go, I guess it would be about 40 kilometers just walking with about 100 pounds on me, and it was fine.
Well, you could have, well, if you want to make money out of it, you still can.
So there are ideas to actually move a lot of things with less effort.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, like, if you just get very excited and fall in love with your idea, that's the one thing entrepreneurs, when they fall in love with an idea, they don't want to let it go. But when you pitch it to people and they say, well, there's this, there's that, so you got to be able to pivot about the idea, you know. But most of the time,
Can you talk about that a little bit more? What do you mean by pivot on the idea?
Like, let's say your idea, okay, you have this thing, rather than, you know, carrying it on your back, it's a lovely idea, I love it, by the way, but you want to put some cart and attach it to your back, that way you're like dragging it behind. But maybe for women, let's say, they're going to say, we're going to need it a little bit lower or higher, or I don't know, maybe this way or that way. When you come up with the very stupid design, the first design, and start using it, and don't spend any money on it, just make it from scrap stuff, and, you know, get some feedback from people. What's your experience? This is when you collect user experience, because as people start giving you feedback, if you are not open to that feedback, if you dump that information, then it's going to hurt you big time by the time the initial version hits the market. So you have to be open to what people are saying, and you shouldn't be in love with your design, and don't let anybody say anything bad about it because it's your delicate design. No, it's a design, it's a wonderful idea, but it's open to change, and it's going to be even prettier, even better, even more acceptable to more people as you incorporate ideas from the feedback from the user people, because customer knows it best, because they're going to be using it in the desert, they're going to be using it in the mountain, in the wherever. So every user is going to come up with a different feedback. If you can hear, they might even give you other product ideas. So it's not easy to actively listen. It's the hardest thing. Like for me, oh my God, it's so hard to listen. I just love talking, but the key is to listen.
All right, let's listen to the next question here from Herbert. Go ahead and unmute your microphone, Herbert Nusubuga. There you go. No, go try again. Try again to unmute your
Can't
microphone.
hear you. You're muted. You're muted, Herbert.
It looked like it unmuted just for a second and then muted back.
Oh, that happens.
Try again. Let me try that again. Do you see the button?
You're muted. Can't hear you. Okay, there you go.
There you go. Try to speak now.
Yes, this is Herbert from Kampala, Uganda. Are you getting me?
Yes,
Are you getting me?
yes.
Are you getting me? Okay, I'm Herbert from Uganda, Kampala. Unfortunately, I missed a lot because of the poor network, but the little I have had, I've enjoyed, especially I joined when Elif was giving an example of Yahoo and Google, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that experience. But three things which I've noted and which are my main points. First of all, if you want to innovate any business, any institution where you are, you have to make sure that you add value to whatever is going on in that business. Then two, you have to have a strategy, a direction where you want your business to go, or where you want to add value to that business which you are involved in. Then three, I think you have to make sure that in your strategy, you have to know the place where you are doing that business or whatever you're doing, so that because what is value for Uganda may not be an additional value for another country. So you have to know where you are doing your business. So with those three points, I think that can make you to find your better way. That is all. Thank you.
You're totally right. Completely agreed. I can't add anything to that because you're completely right.
Thank you.
A sport that I do is disc golf. So it's like a little frisbee, but you can throw it a long, long ways, and you have to make it to these baskets in the shortest amount of throws. And it's like the fastest growing sport right now in the United States and other countries around the world. And I just saw a video 2 days ago where they set up the first disc golf course in Uganda, in Katosi.
Yeah.
And they showed the video of them playing and the children having a great time. And anybody realize this is a business opportunity to connect in, get in the equipment, and then start selling and providing discs to the children to go out and play. And it becomes this wonderful sport that people can do anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's like an opportunity there to develop this new sport throughout Africa, throughout Europe, throughout Latin America, everywhere in the world, there's opportunity because people just love the sport.
Sure.
And it's just starting. There's only one disc golf course in Uganda. There's one disc golf course in Zambia. And there's no disc golf course in Ghana. There's no disc golf course that I know of in Nigeria.
Yes.
And the opportunities are just incredible to start these things. That's just one idea. And there's organizations that will support you to get the equipment and develop the sport. They'll pay you money to set up the sport. So, Ella, do you have ideas that you know of people can actually, businesses that want to develop in different countries?
I wouldn't go for that because because I'm from Turkey and I don't know the conditions in these countries. And I would say, well, one thing I could say is any kind of service business, translation opportunities, they're up there. Or anything that even if you don't put any capital in, you can still start making money. But I wouldn't really, right off my head, I wouldn't just come up with ideas like that.
Yeah, thank you, Elif.
When you're ready to commercialize your innovation, you must have a lawyer to, oh yeah, Dr. Lambert, you're right. Because there's this, you don't want to violate someone else's rights when you're coming out with a new idea.
Yeah, can you talk about that, about patents and protecting yourself and how to write up proper contracts when you're ready to commercialize?
Well, I'm not well versed with that, but what I would say is it would be too late to check out if your product is protected before. If you're like right close to the marketing stage, then you should have already covered your marketability rights, because you don't want to violate someone else's rights. And whenever you have an idea, let's say any kind of business idea, you got to go to Google Patents. Okay, let me do that. That would be the shortest way. Google Patents is a place where you describe your idea and check. It's like checking the patent, US patent office or any other office. That's not free of charge, but the Google Patents is free of charge. So if you have an idea, most likely someone may have thought about that before, and they may have launched a product very close to your product, which doesn't matter. You just need to know if someone has already come up with it, then you need to make sure that you're not violating their rights by introducing your product, because you might think there's no product like this, in your head, or by the information that you collected in the market research, you might think this is a brand new thing that, just you were able to think of. But once you introduce it to the market, if it has already been produced by someone else before, then that person might sue you. Even if you have no bad intention, that person might really get something from you as a penalty of violation of his rights or her rights. So what you need to do is make sure that you have the ground of operability or permit of operability. It has a legal name, but you got to be able to operate, okay? And that is defined by the patents already in place. Someone's patent may have run out, right? In 20 years, it depends on the sector, but there's a certain time period when the owner of the patent, if he doesn't pay for it annually, then they run out of that permission to be able to be protected by that patent. It happened to us, like with our company. We would have been liable for violating somebody's rights, but fortunately, this person had stopped paying for the patent, so therefore, we were thinking we were coming up with this brand new product, but it turned out it was very close to what someone else had hit the market before and got the protective rights for that patent. Thank God they ran out of it. So we had operability because of that. So you just need to make sure that you're not violating anybody else's rights. Oh. Yeah.
Elif Kalayci, do you have more time?
I do.
Any more questions? Let's try with Chris Edmund Akote. There you go. Finally.
Yeah.
I can't hear you very well yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. I'm really blessed and praised as well. Concerning what the topic we are concentrating on is so impressive and very helpful because some of us we've been there and we are still going through some of these things. It's like the topic of the whole thing, the illustration of the movie. You must grow or decide to grow, whatever. You know, it's a personal decision to change your world. And you must also know where you come from and what exactly you are in to do. In my case, we were 9 boys, 1 girl, but no, none of us were able to go to school. But I look at the whole thing and I said, no, I have to change it. As I said, I have to change it, I decided to change it. I was the only person who reached this far in family. My father gave birth to 32 children and my mother 9 because of the twins involved. But I don't see why someone cannot change or renovate his or herself. As we are growing, we must also realize that this person grow and stay there, give birth, grow and stay there, give birth, grow and stay there, give birth, like that. One day you have to see yourself that no, you also grow and give birth over there and you will remain there. So when exactly will you bring a change? You must bring a change within you first before bringing it out. So I believe strongly the more you are anxious or eager to learn, the more you will be picking it up and the more you'll be changing your world or your life. The kid was saying something not good that someone should have a role model. I deal with people that are intellectual, people that are ahead of me. Those are the people I set as my ultimate goal or as my.
Whoops. Did we lose Chris?
It does look so, yes. I do not see him on the list. He lost connection. Yes, he's not here. Can you respond to what you heard?
I think he should be here when I'm
Yeah.
responding. But
We are recording this, so.
oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're right. Well, I would say, as much as I was able to understand, I think he was asking when is a good time to start innovating, or did I get it right? Okay. I think there's no when. It's a matter of, that's why I'm saying the emotions. If you have enough of a go inside, because there's never going to be the right time for innovation. If you wait for it, no one is going to come and say, this is time for innovation. There's no such thing. You're always going to be on your own, always looking at uncertainty, and you're just going to be, whether are you going to take this challenge on or not. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like big challenges. All you need to do is look back at yourself and feel all the accomplishments that you were able to do until today. Because everybody, we all have accomplishments. So we just need to feel the urge to take action. So it's only a matter of a second. Am I going to do something about it or not? It doesn't, I mean, I don't see there's any other way of approaching this. So you just have to rely on your gut feeling. Am I good enough? Yes, you are. Anybody can innovate. We're not talking about Superman here. Once you start, once you embark on this journey, things will come out of nowhere to help you. And you will be surprised, because if you're committed, it will work out. You just need to trust yourself. You just need to trust God, because there's a power That's bigger than us. For us, there are impossible things, but for God, there is no impossible.
Do you have another example of innovation that you could just tell a story about?
Well, Steve Jobs, big time, but I still love that story when he was kicked out of Apple. He was kicked out of Apple. He was the founder of that company. And come on, what kind of a ridicule was he to the community of technology? And he's like in front of the whole world. And he's feeling, oh my God, I'm such a mess. I'm such a big time. And he even says, I had to go and apologize to Hewlett Packard guys because he was such a loser, being kicked out. And then what? Then he says, it's this lightness. It's this, I can start from scratch. So then he starts the feeling of freedom. And then he says, oh, let's look. What do we have on hand? Oh, okay. So there's cartoons, entertainment, and then there is movies. And he basically came up with this. Well, what was the name of the studio that started the Monsters movie? Anyway, so he comes up with this new company, and it's a brand new company, and he starts producing animation with not with drawing, but with 3D kind of moving thing. I can't really remember the name of the technology, but he basically starts a brand new company, and then Apple acquires it. Now, the emotional background, first of all, he feels miserable, he's the loser, and it's in front of the whole world. And then he starts changing the perspective to himself. Oh, okay, who cares? I'm not a loser. I'm just starting over, like a 7-year-old who doesn't care what other people think. He's just curious. That curiosity is like fresh air. Let's start again. Let's play. That is the feeling. So first, the feeling of curiosity, the feeling of what can I do? Let's just do something and let's enjoy. And let's come up with some, it's the feeling of let's play. Okay, it's not the feeling of let's come up with a product someone will like. No, there's no fear factor. It's the curiosity and how can I serve community? How can I let people fall in love with something that they don't even have an idea of? But when I do it, they're gonna fall in love with it because it's something, I love it. It's just wonderful. So when I fall in love with it, and when I, of course, ask people around, do you like this? And people, yeah. The more people like the idea. That was the one thing about Steve Jobs. He didn't just say, I love it, that's why it's going to sell. No, he asked around. He made sure that there's a market for it before he started out with anything. That's how he made sure it's going to sell. Because he's not a technology guy. Wozniak was the guy who made Apple, but it's always Steve Jobs in the front. Wozniak was the real guy. He's the real brains. Well, the real brains doesn't really go do the market research. So you have to have a team. You need to have the technical people, but you don't expect everything from the technical people. You got to have someone who knows how to talk to the customers to get what's missing in the market. At the moment, there is so much demand for digital marketing. Everybody is going crazy about how to market my product in social media. Like old ladies, young people, anybody, they're going crazy looking for TikTok or content or how to market in Facebook or Instagram. So you don't need any capital for this kind of business. You just need to sit and study, how can I do some digital marketing for selling books, for selling anything. Just go and study, go find little niches to help people market their product at the social media. Anything. But
I want
you
to
know,
call on Dr. Zwanda or Amadwa to give a comment. He hasn't raised his hand or anything, but I just want him to unmute his microphone and give his thoughts on this topic. Let me try that again. There.
Yeah, can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, I just comment, and well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much. This is an eye-opener. I like it when you talk about frustration. I joined politics at the age of 7. You should have seen the frustration the young people have in Soweto, which drive them to change the country where it is today. And I'm listening now to say, if we put that energy into business, and we try to do innovation based on the frustration we have, as you said, because some frustration come it was by force with us, because we found ourselves that we have got no any other option except frustration. In fact, we were prepared to die. In fact, many of our people died, and it's a pity because June 16 is just across the corner here. We were prepared to such an extent that the anger is just because it's no longer like the same, because things have subsided, people loud, they take it for granted. They don't know that it was not so easy. At the age of 7, I could actually use a gun, which was not right. So when I go back, sometimes I always say, maybe we are losing the opportunity which Mandela paid for us, because the Mandelas during their time, it was not easy just to raise up and say, I'm fighting apartheid. So I'm trying to say to you, this kind of energy, if you put it to business, there's no way you cannot win, whichever way you want to take. So the frustration and the decision to go for it, and the going against the tribe, the all odds, where you find obstacles are in front of you, you push until you get what you want. And then feeling alone but staying connected. I like that. I like that concept. And determination, because what actually causes us to win was determination. And we build up until Mandela comes and Mandela goes. Now people take those things for granted, which I think we need to revive that. Today, I don't know whether you know, the South Africa we are facing, when you are talking about frustration, we are having load shedding, rolling blackouts all over the country. You'll find the whole of Johannesburg dark for 8 hours. Now that's a challenge to me to say, what is it, this frustration? How do we ease this frustration from people, from myself as well? Because you don't want to be in the country where things are just not organized. It's costing a lot. Business are getting closed, and it's very bad. You actually gave me an assignment to go and find a way. How can we find a solution to the issue of load shedding? Load shedding is power cuts. You get few hours, they say you're going to have power for 5 hours, you're going to have, but now it's going deep, and we're going to winter now. You might hear the total collapse of the grid in South Africa. So what I'm trying to say, it spark, I'm going to combine with my team in my company. You have revived me, because sometimes you get, what do you call it? You get weary and gave up. You have revived that to me today, and I'm taking an oath. I'm going to do that. You might hear tomorrow we are the champion of renewable energy, and that's where my passion is in future. But what I'm trying to say,
I want to say that we have one student that came up with an idea of, there's a lot of youth that are unemployed. And so the idea was to get the youth on stationary bicycles. And as they would work out their bicycle, the wheels would turn and produce energy, and that would
Yes.
solve the load shedding problem just by having the youth without jobs riding bicycles, giving them food, having them keep riding their bicycle, and then people have energy for to combat load shedding.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Because you see, what I like about this session is that it's like you are carrying a candle. Someone take a matches and lighten up. That's what she has done, the honorable doctor there. And we want to say thank you to you, Dr. Lambert, to make us to have this opportunity. And as I said, I'm taking it upon myself to go to start making sure to see how can we ease the load shedding in our country. Thank you so much.
Elif Kalayci, do you have any comments on maybe some innovative ideas for load shedding?
I cannot give enough respect. I'm so touched because what you're doing, what you're going through is amazing. You're going to, I don't know, inspire so many people, and you're going to be remembered for what you're doing, for what you're starting. And it's not an easy path, I know, but just the fact that you're starting, people always need hope. That's another thing. And when you get weary, someone else is going to carry the flag, and you're just going to help each other and move on. Because you guys, every one of us, even in Turkey, we're going through very hard times, very difficult times, and we're trying to remember our leader, Atatürk. He gave us this land. They shed their blood, and we took it and for granted, and now we have a sultan. So basically, we're going through very difficult times ourselves. So we need to share this kind of hope, and we have to stand on our own. And we owe this to our kids. So we don't have any other choice. We have to come up with new businesses. We have to come up with new ways of generating income for people. Otherwise, all these people are just going to fled the country. And what's going to happen to our land? We owe it to our generation. So basically, this is a two-sided thing, and I'm so touched. Really, my respects, Dr. Ramadwa.
Dr. Ramadwa, do you have any more to say?
I just want to say we need more sessions like this with Dr. Lambert. It's not only for our university and yourself, it's for the world out there. You can see this topic has touched many people, and they are talking about going back to plow back to their own country, and that's what is needed. And if you find someone, people have got, as she mentioned, she said there are people like Mandela's, the people who gave us the hope, people like Archbishop it was not easy. They were faced with guns, but I like that word she said, frustration lead to determination. Because if you are not frustrated, it's like, but one of the things which limit us as educated people is because education look at risk. And the moment you look at risk, you're wasting your time. Entrepreneur can come today, he short circuit everything, he become a millionaire because they don't work on the issue of what do you call it? Risk. When you talk, educated people will tell you, where will you get the money for this? What will happen for this? And then I like when she said she doesn't like school. Our school system hasn't been designed to produce entrepreneurs and people who are innovative. It's memorizing, and then from there you pass, then you end up nowhere. But you find, the Steve Jobs you're talking about, those people don't have degrees. Microsoft giant, what's his name? Bill Gates. Those are dropouts. And the being dropouts, they get frustrated. Being frustrated, it leads them to become innovative. Innovating, they become determination. Today, we rely on them. So we need to also limit the issue of risk. Of course, it must be calculated risk, but you mustn't just
block yourself to say risky. As she said, I like what she said. You have got a lot of papers. That's what I like about your university. It's quick, it's on your own. They assess you based on what you design, curriculum design. I'd like it very much. You do your own research. You actually come up with your own inputs. You know, it's amazing. I see that it's a future for creating innovators, Dr. Lambert. I'm very happy. I'm not than happy, and I'm touched. I'm emotional. That's why I'm going back to 1976 to say I joined politics at the age of 7, knowing how to do. In fact, I could become radical, but I went back and said, no, in fact, Mandela said education is the only way to change the world. But he was right. If he didn't say that, it will be just chaos all over the show. Now, people getting educated, but when they get, the more they get educated, they forget where they come from. All what we hear is corruption, which we cannot hide. It's all over the show. And if you are having education which doesn't actually change the man in the street, it's not education at all. I don't believe it's education. So that's all what I can say, Dr. Lambert. I want to say thank you to you and Elif. You are a star. Don't run away forever. Be around. We will disturb you on the email. Please answer us as much as you can.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
And also to finalize is that this issue of innovation and renewal, we have already teamed up with the team. Oh, no, thank you. With the team from China. And we are going there on the 1st. We've already moved. We had a big summit which was organized by us. A big summit, the whole world were here. We were looking at the way, how can we easy. I'm trying to talk this issue of renewal to cut to load shedding. We're already on the process. We're going to China because they've got these resources which we want to utilize. We're going to go to Dubai. We're going to go to India because the world must become one. These things of working in silo, it won't work because we are different. We are different. So I'm trying to say we are on the way. We might be maybe 30%, but we're going to be 80% soon. I'm determined because of this frustration we are in. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Wow. God has mysterious ways. I think you're onto something here. You're probably going to be revolutionizing your country.
I am, and
bright minds.
And I'm doing pro-doc, he knows, Dr. Lambert. My topic is renewable energy, and I didn't know that would be in the load sheddings. That's why I managed to have a conference which we had, which was addressed by the ministers. They were so shocked when I tell them, we've got the sun, which is a free power. Why do we have to worry about the coal? The coal, which is still making people sick and carbon emission. So we are so rich, but we can't change the wealth of our resources into, but anyway, that's a story for another day. But I'm trying to say that on the renewal, we're already halfway. You will see the paper I'm going to send to Dr. Lambert as well, the initial one. So we are on that mission as well to work on. But your presentation, it's a star. I don't know. I'm going to sleep with peace of mind today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you so much, Doc.
I'm so touched. I can't say anything. This is really.
You must have something to say. It's something inside of you. Go ahead. Tell us. What are you feeling? What are you thinking about this?
Well, this is just amazing because I wasn't expecting this much. Basically, to me, it's a topic, but I didn't know how it could relate to people's lives. I would love to be connected in terms of heartfelt emotions and get something going, but I wasn't expecting it to be this way. And exactly, you're right. I mean, Africa has so much resources, untapped resources, and the whole world is after Africa now. So in the 21st century, you guys will be the star of the world. And you got to know how to protect your rights. Otherwise, people will be coming and, plundering your resources like they've done their own. And they ran out of resources. And now it's time for, plucking you and getting everything. You have to protect yourself, and you can. Because now that there is internet, there's communication, and you can, the first thing is to stand together. And now you can do it virtually. You can stand together. Even look, I'm from Turkey and you're from Africa, and we're together sharing the same feelings of frustration and fueling innovative ideas. And like this William boy from Malawi, he came up with these ideas. And there's so many. If you go on the internet, just check out the entrepreneurs or the innovators from Africa, bring them together in a conference and let them talk to one another, put them in some virtual Zoom talk, and see what kind of ideas will pop out, because these guys have done it to a certain point, and they just need to scale it further. So if he's done it in Malawi, he can do it in South Africa, or maybe in Uganda or Kenya or whatever. Just a matter of replicating the same thing. You don't need to create the wheel from scratch, kind of thing. You just need to be connected with these right people and stay together. And I think it's much easier than exactly like when you're saying days of Mandela. But those are the candles. So they're giving us hope that we can do today, and we should be doing it today. And getting out of the comfort zone is our assignment. So yeah, risks shouldn't be putting us back. We should measure the risks, not act like a gambler. Gamblers don't measure any risk. They just go. But business people, they measure risk. They're not afraid of it. They use their heads, and then they go into the risk. That's it. That's what you can do. And the rest is up to God. And God helps when you step in. But if you're sitting like that, then what's God supposed to do about this? Yeah. So I think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and thank God for that. Did we cover all questions?
Pretty much. I'm going to ask Ahmed Sheriff to unmute and make comments. What are you thinking? What are your ideas?
I'm relating to the story of William. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I learned a lot of things from the story of Williams and my own life. When I was in my country, I'm presently in France. When I was in my country, I worked in the mining company, Sarah Ruta Limited. My then warehouse supervisor, I was working in the receiving section of the warehouse. So the day I was employed, I got some introduction from him. He taught me a lot of things. He told me, you are here to work, but if you want to stay here, you need to add value.
Yes.
That was his first address to me. So I told him, I give you my word. Take it from me, you see how the future will be. So I went through my probational period. From there, he approved my probational period, so I was permanently employed. So one day he called me from my effort. He called me and asked me, your immediate supervisor, because we have the receiving section have a supervisor, but he is the senior supervisor for the warehouse. And the warehouse has more than 45,000 line items. We receive everything. So due to the report he has been receiving about me, so he asked me, I want you to continue in that place, so you'll be there. But let me give you one word. Whenever you are employed somewhere, there is no employer that is looking for a lazy employee. All employers, they are looking for a hardworking employee. When you are given an opportunity to do something at your own best. So he gave me one scenario. He told me, if you are given a room, they said, this is the room, take care of this place. Now you are in charge of that place. You met it, it has a door, it has a window. Which kind of difference are you going to create? So I look at him, I said, which kind of question is this? He said, I'm discussing with you. Tell me, which kind of difference are you going to create? So I look at him, I said, I started suggesting, I said, maybe I can change the paint. He said, okay. And so next, I said, I will think about another thing, look at the floor, look at the ceiling, what else? So he told me, can you think about another thing again? He said, well, let me tell you now. If you enter in the room they have given you, the door is at the right-hand side. That's the way they made it. But if you want to create impact, suggest for that door to move from the right-hand side to go to the left-hand side. So whenever you leave that place, if another person happens to come, he will know that you have created an impact in this place. So you don't need to just continue going walking in the footstep of the person you met before you. So you need to do something to create impact in another man's life. So if somebody happens to come, let him know that you have created something and you have created a difference. The other big thing I learned from the story of William, there is a say, they said there is no success without struggle. Any success has a price of struggle, stories behind it. If you say you are going to listen to a lot of things, because William, he has external forces behind him, criticizing him. He has internal forces criticizing, especially the mother. The mother told him, William, nobody is going to marry you because you are just in the scrapyard. But he has his own focused mind. He said, no, I have to be focused and continue. When he succeeded, the whole family glorified with him, and they are now glorified. And we have the same similar situation in my country in 2012. In 2012, in my country, we had a young boy in Freetown. I'm from Sierra Leone. So this young boy, he was in the junior secondary school, but because of living conditions, he came from a very destitute family, so he cannot continue. So he started going to the scrapyard, looking out for scraps. This boy, presently, he is in Canada. He invented generator on his own, and he invented FM radio station on his own. People knew about him, and the government knew about him when he invented the radio station. His radio station, he cannot control the frequency of his radio station. So the frequency of his own radio station started interrupting the registered radio stations. So the Telecommunication Commission wanted to know the source of this radio station disturbing another radio station. So they tracked him. That's how his own blessing came about. So this young man, they took him to MIT. He narrated everything. He did a very good presentation. Even if you go to YouTube, you can find him. His YouTube name is DJ Focus.
Exactly.
So the time he created that radio station, that was the name they called him. So because of that, the frustration he went through, the humiliation, people humiliated him, even his mother wanted to even run away from him. So but he continued working. At the end of the day, all of them, they are now blessed. So if you want to be someone, you just have to be consistent and perseverance. Forget about all other external, internal, continue. If you succeed, people will glorify with you, or they keep on clapping with you. But if you fail, you are alone. But if you know your target, just continue. The frustration behind the story of a William is a very big lesson, and it's a lesson all of us have to learn from it. Being an innovator, you just have to get courage. If you don't have courage, you will never succeed. In any business, if you don't have courage, you will never succeed. So that's my own lesson I learned from the story of Williams. Thank you.
Dr. Lambert, I was listening to DJ Focus material on the internet. So now hearing it from Ahmed, it's just remarkable, because I was thinking, should I also tell about this story? And now Ahmed told the story, and it's for real. I was so impressed. One thing I can add is, yes, you can always go after an idea to, that burns you. But since you guys are all students of AIU, if you can create like groups of 8, groups of 7, and if you could maybe meet virtually just to talk about your project. And when you are wary, like Dr. Ramadwa is saying, just talk to your group, and then they're going to give you the power. They're going to give you the courage that you need. When you need someone to talk to, you can have people from your university to pitch, to vent, and then to feel the support. Emotionally, you sometimes need some support from somebody. If you guys can get together amongst yourselves, if you can do that, that helps tremendously, because then you don't need to be alone. And that's important, especially for me when I'm going through difficult times, family or otherwise. There are times I need psychological support. Well, if I have a group of people that I can go and talk, just talk. If they're going to listen, that's enough. Sometimes I just need to get it out of my system, and I'm going to re-energize myself automatically because I got some people who understand me. But totally being on your own, it's so hard. So these guys are depicted as if they've done it all on their own. No, I mean, they must have families supporting them. DJ Focus or William, in William's case, his father was definitely supporting him, and maybe some other people, his grandmother as well. But if you don't have anybody around you, then you just make a call from AIU. You guys, I just need to talk. Would you happen to listen to me? Let's just create a virtual community and let's do this. Once a week, twice a week, I don't know, half an hour, who cares? Just anytime who's available.
We have different topics that people can come together and talk about. So I'm going to start one on innovation.
Why not?
So you'll be able to see it in your student sections that if you want to connect into innovation, and other students, as they begin to connect in, just connect in and talk to each other. Let's go now to Ivy Suswole. Hello, hello. Are you able to unmute your microphone?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lambert.
Hello, hello.
Elif and everyone. Very, very impressive and informative for the innovation. I believe that unity and working together brings unity. And I know that everyone has a potential. So about this frustration, we should not allow frustration to frustrate us, but rather to push us to do what is good and what is helpful for our nation. Like in this era that we are in with this economic crisis, everybody is confused, chaos everywhere. This knowledge is really very important and really coming to boost us up and to help us to be a blessing to the nation and to the whole world. Thank you very much, Elif. It's very, very important. And it has come at the right time where we need to know that there is something good in us. God has deposited a very good thing in us, which He is looking up to us to also act on it to be a blessing to the world. So, like Dr. Mwanda said, he has really been motivated. We have all been motivated. We have all been motivated, and we really need to rise up. Nobody will do it if we don't rise up. Don't expect somebody will do it on your behalf. You are the one to do it. So we need to rise up and be a blessing to our community, our villages, our town, our country, the whole world as whole, so that we live like Dr. Mwanda was saying that Mandela has left a legacy, but sometimes we forget about what they went through to give us what we have at the moment. We forget it, and therefore we don't fight the good fight, and we don't finish it. We think that, oh, he has done it, he has left it, but it's a legacy that we need to work in and work on. So we are not in the nation or in the country just to be there, but we are supposed to leave a legacy. When we are no more, we will be remembered of our legacy. What did you do? What did you leave behind?
Yes.
For yourself, for your family, for the nation as a whole, and for the whole world. Because it's very, very important. Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert and Elif and everyone. It's been a wonderful moment. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great to hear from you again, Ivy. Where do we go from here? Do you think, what would you talk about next time you come?
Well, I would maybe the mindset idea, the mindset of innovation and teamwork, not necessarily the Superman idea, but more like how to gather the team, maybe, because there's so much to talk about. But Dr. Lambert, I have to say, your student body is impressive. These guys, these are all so responsive and they're so bright, and this is wonderful. Really, what you have over here is wonderful. And most likely, if we could, maybe 20 years from now, people are going to look back to these recorded sessions and they're going to say, hey, this leader has started this thing back then, remember, look, and each one of you maybe will be leading something, and maybe we're making history here, who knows. But it's so, I don't know, I'm so touched to be here, to you guys are letting me speak here, and I love talking, so you guys are letting me, you know, I just want to vent all the frustration that I have for all the wrongdoings, the educational system and all the political things, everything going on, and how we owe to our kids the right mindset, the innovative mindset, the action, to getting out of our comfort zone and doing things, just like Dr. Ramadwa was saying, just like Ivy was saying. It's not only you, I have to do it. Everybody, we're all supposed to do it in our own means, whatever we can. So I think this is a huge opportunity to connect and talk and get together, you know, put some projects, because like Dr. Lambert is saying, you have projects and you can come up with things, you can help each other. And who knows what you're going to be coming up with, and it might be history. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to work on some mindset and teamwork stuff, or maybe how to talk with customers. That's another thing. So I'll be planning for something that excites me, and hopefully it will be helpful for you guys also.
And another case example would be great too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the internet is full of examples, because Africa is so rich in that sense. So I'm sure I'll be able to find some, I mean, I'm so excited, so touched with all the stuff that I'm finding when I'm curating the course. So it's making me so excited. And hopefully you guys will like it as well when I come up with it. So we'll see what's next. I don't know.
Well, we look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
We do.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, I think that's going to do it for our time. We really should stop. Even though we could keep going, we should stop. And we'll be back next time.
Okay.
So let's say our thanks. You can actually unmute your microphone right now. Let me see you. Go ahead and click this so that you can say thank you to Elif Kalayci for a wonderful presentation on innovation. All right, everybody, you have your microphones.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.